So I let the alarm ring for 10 minutes. Nobody came, and my head is splitting with a headache right now. But I just had 4 hours of really good sleep. But my head is splitting with a headache, just really horrible headache because of the heparin. So I finally pressed the call button 10 minutes later, expecting somebody to come down and do something about this. I don't know how much time passed, but it felt like it was at least 4:45 with this alarm blaring in my ear when I have a horrible headache and just want to sleep. This alarm is blaring in my ear. And it felt like it was about 4:45 a.m. before anybody came and did something about it. And I hear alarms going off up and down the hallway while my alarm's going off. Sarit is nowhere to be found. She's not doing her job. I don't know what's going on with her. But it really felt like she did not give a shit that night. And she comes in, finally, after 45 minutes, turns the alarm off, fixes the machine, walks out of the room. I lift my arm just to move it barely, and the alarm on my machine starts going off again. Sarit does not come back. Takes her at least 15 minutes to come back after I press the call button. She fixes the machine, turns around to walk out of the room, and I move my arm again, and the alarm goes off again. She starts getting irritated. She starts getting really irritated that my alarm keeps going off like this is somehow my fault. She doesn't say anything, but I could just feel it. I could feel the vibe. I could feel the vibe that she is just really off. My night is turning really, really bad. And I don't have any support system in the hospital with me at this point because I sent Kara home to rest. I had no idea that that was going to be a mistake, but it was. Because she could have at least gotten somebody's attention. And only Sarit is the person who can touch this machine. None of the CNAs can touch this machine other than to turn the alarm off. But they can't fix the machine. Only Sarit. And Sarit was MIA for the whole hallway. Alarms going off left and right, left and right, left and right, left and right. So finally the machine settles. The alarm doesn't go off again. I probably get a little bit more sleep. But they come poking and prodding at me around 6 a.m., maybe 7 a.m. I don't remember exactly the time on Saturday. It's probably around the nurse changeover. And at 7 a.m., I am incredibly nauseated. Like really, really, really nauseated. I don't know if I'm going to throw up. I haven't thrown up since I've been in the hospital. But I feel extremely nauseated, and I tell them at the changeover that I need Zofran, which is the anti-nausea medication that they would put in my IV. And they're like, okay, fine, we'll get that to you soon. It takes an hour to get that. And I am just having this horrible feeling in my stomach that entire hour. And this is coming off of this horrible night where I had alarms going off and a nurse who didn't give a shit. A nurse that was irritated that a machine that I had no control over was screwing up. Remember, it was like I felt like I was dropped off at the morgue. That was the amount of care that I got. That I felt that I might as well have already been dead. I finally got that Zofran an hour later. And I was trying to listen to music, and all the music that I had kept coming up, making me feel like I was going to die. And I began having thoughts of my mom's passing and how she had had something stupid happen, being bitten by a cat. That's what caused my mom to die, sepsis, massive sepsis. And I was thinking about the mistakes in the ICU and how it was handled when I came down to the regular room. And all I could think was that I was going to die by some stupid-ass mistake. And it just really got to me. It really, really got to me. That I was going to die by some stupid-ass mistake. And I tried to overcome that feeling, but I couldn't do it. And I was triggered by what happened with my mom. And her hospital stay. And quite frankly, I lost it. After the whole thing with people not caring, the change over the Zofran, everything just felt like no one gave a shit about what I was going through. I'd just come out of the ICU. And nobody told me anything. It was a Friday night in Las Vegas, and you don't want to be in a hospital or an ER in Vegas on a Friday night because you just have no idea what's coming in. And maybe that contributed to Sarit's misery of that night. Maybe she switched shifts and she wanted to be at home doing something else. But her behavior was inexcusable. For the whole hallway, not just me. And she tried to make excuses at the changeover. Oh, that was blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, it wasn't. It was you. It was you, Sarit. It was you, Sarit. You made my first night in that regular hospital room miserable. Miserable. You took me from being happy from being moved from the ICU to being despondent over how I was treated. And again, I had no support system in the hospital that night. I sent Kara home because I thought that I was going to be okay and that we would both be able to get some rest in our respective beds. What a mistake that was. What a mistake that was. And by the time things went off the rails around 7:15, 7:30 in the morning for me, I didn't want to call her because I knew she'd be worried. I was in such a bad headspace at that time that it would have made everybody think that I thought I was going to die. Because that was the feeling that I had at that moment. That I was going to die from some stupid ass mistake. In between people coming in, giving me Zofran, which made me feel better very quickly. If they could have gotten it to me an hour sooner, it would have been really awesome. But I felt a little bit better after that. They had to come in and take my blood pressure. They had to come in and take my blood work. But in between all this, after the changeover, I was a bucket of tears every moment that somebody was out of the room. And I tried to stop it anytime anyone came in the room. But they could see it, they could sense it, and the changeover to the day shift, which first was Alana, who took my blood pressure. She was a CNA, and she is who I would call my first angel that I met in the hospital in the regular room. She didn't say anything about tears. She didn't say anything about what she saw. But she could sense that I was in immense pain mentally. And she just started talking with me. And she told me how to turn off the alarm on the machine. And she immediately made me feel better because she was the first person since when I'd come down to the room that made it feel like she actually cared about me being there. Alana, you have no idea how much you meant to me that first day. And I didn't see Alana again until toward the end of my hospital stay. I guess this is a good time to tell a funny story as we're heading into the day shift part of Saturday, May 11th. I finally took time to look at myself in the mirror after getting down to the regular room, and man, what a sight that was. My left eye was filled with blood, completely filled with blood. My right eye still had a lot of blood in it, but it wasn't as bad as the left eye, which was completely filled. The fluids that I've been taking for the last 3 days have ballooned me up really big. And I remember looking in the mirror and saying, finally, I look worse in real life than my DMV photo. I looked like a grotesque caricature of my DMV photo that I most recently had because of all these fluids that I was on. My eyes were like squinted closed. Barely could see, but I looked like a caricature of my DMV photo. And I've been waiting forever to look worse than my DMV photo because the people who take my DMV photos just have a gift to find the worst look of me. I just don't know how that is, but it's always been that way. But now, I looked worse than my DMV photo. It was pretty intense seeing myself that way. And I had no idea how easy it would be to bounce back. But I did.